Let me ask you a question. Do the Tamil Tigers speak for the 12% ethnic minority Tamils in Sri Lanka, or does it represent their sentiments?
I won't say that the Tamils, minority Tamils, 12% Tamils, have no grievances. No, I won't say that.
Okay.
It's unreasonable if I say that.
Right.
So are the Sinhalese have grievances.
Sure.
You see, the people who are in villages have grievances. 77% of the country is village. And they are the one who got a raw deal all these years.
Yep.
And the Tamils got the raw deal and the Sinhalese got the raw deal. And the Muslims got
so
the
they
raw
were
deal.
deprived of free movement, free speech.
So what happened is that that they declared themselves as the sole representative of the Tamil people after eliminating the Tamil leadership, democratic leadership.
Right.
You see, and that's how they think. So then what we saw in the 80s and even the 90s was that by the international community in putting pressure on the government of Sri Lanka on many issues like human rights, on democracy, on good governance, on international community, the United States included, that the LTTE's fight and the Tamil grievances were put in the same basket.
Okay.
These are two separate things. LTTE terrorism and Tamil grievances are two different separate things.
At that time, they were using their underage children to fight in their combat forces.
In fact, the United Nations...
Did you consider that to be like a despotic rule at that point?
The thing is, actually, the United Nations has... See, the government of Sri Lanka is a signatory to all international covenants and agreements. Mm-hmm. LTTE is not.
Okay.
So LTTE forcibly recruit underage children to join their fighting cadre.
Sure.
And the United Nations and the Human Rights Watch had already recognized that.
Yes.
That they those are all basic violation of international laws.
But actually, the Tamil children are educated in schools and universities outside the North and the East, right?
See, the thing is, in 1973, the government of Sri Lanka brought a standardization of education in 1973.
Okay.
Now, in that standardization of education, what the government of Sri Lanka did was, see, Sri Lanka, as I told you, 77% is rural.
Right.
And there are backward areas. There are main cities like Colombo is the main capital.
Yes.
Then you have several more cities like that has good universities, good schools, good colleges.
Sure.
And this is where and all the facilities are mostly diverted to these areas, these city areas, schools and universities. So all the Tamils, Sinhalese or the Muslims who were studying in those on those universities and colleges and high schools benefited, and they are the one who had the facility of entering the universities and even going abroad to other countries for higher education. Exactly. So whereas the rural areas didn't have. Now this 1973 standardization gave prominence to rural areas and at disadvantaged areas.
Yes.
So that disadvantaged areas were Tamils as well as disadvantaged areas were Sinhalese areas. So they started going into this. So actually, this the education when you take the university education there are 12% ethnic minority Tamils in the country.
Right.
If you take the census, I took the census when I was working as a political specialist in the American Embassy in 1990, where I found that in the engineering faculty, the ethnic Tamil composition was 24%, way above the 12%.
Okay.
In the medical faculty, medical school, it's about 22%, 24%.
Okay.
In the physical science faculties, about 20%, 22%. You see, in the liberal arts faculty, only about 13% of it, 14%. You see?
Yep. So you can't really say that only one faction has grievances.
No, you can't say that one faction has grievances. Really, there are the majority Sinhalese who are in rural areas got the raw deal.
Right.
When I was in the American Embassy as a political specialist, I did the survey of 8 weeks, 10 weeks. I did a survey with the head of the economic section of the USAID, U.S.
Right.
Agency for International Development in Colombo, in Sri Lanka.
Yep.
And we found that how backward the rural population was in Sri Lanka, both Tamils and Sinhalese.
Right.
They got the raw deal from all governments. They got raw deal.
Yeah.
Their schools are underfed, under-equipped. The produce, the agricultural produce that they have, they don't get a decent price for this agricultural produce.
No.
Both the Tamils and Sinhalese. 77% is rural.
Right.
Now these 20% of city areas, both Sinhalese and Tamils and the Muslims are the one who benefited.
Right.
So in 1973, the government was trying to standardize these things. And today, the biggest challenge the government has is more than defeating the LTTE is to give a better deal for this rural population of 77% rural population, which has Tamils, Sinhalese, and Muslims.
Does the United States have a special interest in helping Sri Lanka to defeat Tamil Tiger terrorism?
Yeah, the United States has a special interest. I won't say not, because Sri Lanka and the United States have been having a very cordial relationship for past 100 years or so.
Okay.
So, United States has. But one thing that the United States and the international community has really misunderstood Sri Lanka's whole situation here. Now, I want to read a portion of a report that a former American ambassador in Sri Lanka, Jeffrey Lunstead, wrote in a very special report 2 years ago to the San Francisco-based Asia Foundation. This is what Ambassador Lunstead said, and how they look at Sri Lanka's terrorism problem.
Okay.
Ambassador Lunstead said, U.S. Treasury experts on terrorism financing visited Sri Lanka several times to work with the government on strengthening the Sri Lanka financial system's ability to cut off terrorist financing flow. While this might be considered a U.S. strategic interest, it was also limited by the fact that the LTTE is essentially a local Sri Lankan phenomenon, with no clear ties to the other terrorist group with a worldwide reach. And Ambassador Lunstead says, the US opposes all terrorist groups, but all such groups are not equal in the extent to which they threaten US interests directly. That is where it goes.
Okay.
That is where it goes.
All right.
And that is where it goes that that you are trying to that gives the impression of the LTTE has been very easily trying to equate LTTE's struggle or whatever struggle that they have with the Tamil grievances.
So you think they're misunderstood?
They are misunderstood completely.
Yes.
See, now what is happening now is that the United States is fighting Al Qaeda and the other terrorist groups. LTTE is a Sri Lankan phenomenon, as the Ambassador Lunstead says. You see, so there are two separate things. So naturally, the international community and the United States look at the LTTE thing as a completely different thing, because it is not. LTTE has not threatened the United States' interest at all.
Right.
You see, so these are what the Western nations should understand. Now, also, the Sri Lankan government is trying to strike a balance between national security and combating LTTE terrorism. Same thing the United States government did since 9/11.
Right.
So now what's happening here is the East has been liberated, and the power has been given to a democratically elected provincial body after 20 years. Now the government of Sri Lanka is trying to liberate the North and bring the country together to safeguard the national, safeguard the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and democracy, and give fairness to all the communities, especially that 77% who are in the rural communities, that's Tamils, Sinhalese, and the Muslims.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daya, for the erudite explanation. I see that you are the balance of the international issues facing Sri Lanka. Thank you.